up guys, MTG23 here, and this is the Moto G 3rd generation. And here's my review of it. So just to get this out of the way, Republic Wireless, which is a phone plan company, did send this out to me to review and then to give away. More on that giveaway later in the video. So the Moto G is a budget phone. Budget phones tend to fall between like the $150 range to like the $300 range. So the Moto G costs $179 for the 8GB model with 1GB of RAM. If you choose to upgrade, which I recommend doing, for $219 you can get 2GB of RAM and 16GB of storage. One thing to note though, on Republic Wireless, for both models there's 1GB of RAM and the base model is $199. So the Moto G is basically just a stripped down version of Motorola's more premium devices. You'll notice the plastic on the sides where there used to be metal. Moto G is also missing little things on the inside, like 5 GHz Wi-Fi, NFC, little things like that. If they're advertising it as a high-end phone and it was boasting a high price, those would be curious things to be missing, but it's not, so that's okay. Now, another thing that it's lacking in is the display. Now, compared to the Moto X 2nd generation display, which is a 1080p OLED display, the Moto G is a IPS 720p display. Now, if you compare them side by side, you can see that the Moto X display is more saturated, it being an OLED display. If you zoom in, especially on the Instagram app, you can see the difference clearly. What you're looking at now is the Instagram app on the Moto G, and as you can see, the word Insta in the Instagram logo is kind of fuzzy and the colors are kind of washed out. But if you move over to the Moto X, you can clearly see the Insta on Instagram, and the colors are also more saturated. If you move over to software, it has a very lightly skinned version of Android Lollipop 5.1.1, and it has a few functions that have been found in Motorola's higher-end devices but not yet found in the Moto G line. So the first one is the double chop to turn on the flashlight. The next is the double twist to open up the camera app, and if you twist it again you can get to the selfie camera pretty quickly. And then the last one is the Moto Display, which has surprisingly not taken a hit on the battery life despite it being all pitch black and it being an LCD display. So let's talk performance on the Moto G. So the Moto G, the performance is actually pretty good. So it's got a Snapdragon 410 quad-core processor and an Adreno 306 GPU. Now, they may not bench very much, but they definitely perform well. Because of the clean version of Android, it runs so smoothly. And if you compare it side by side by the Moto X that I have, it lags just slightly. But that's to be expected because it's a budget phone and it's not a high-end smartphone like the Moto X is. Performance is basically acceptable for anyone who isn't going to do any sort of hardcore gaming and doing all these graphic intensive things. But if you're just going to use it basically as a smartphone, browsing the web, watching some YouTube, stuff like that, completely fine. You'll have no problems with this phone. I mean, it'll perform like a dream. So the next thing is, the best part about this whole phone is the battery life. The battery life has been just flat out phenomenal in this phone. I've gone 2 days easily without having to charge this phone, and it has incredible standby time, and if you have lighter usage days, you'll probably be able to squeeze out 3 days out of it. Now if you move over to the camera, it has the same exact sensor as the Nexus 6 from last year. It doesn't have OIS, which is optical image stabilization, which helps with low light photos, but if you give it plenty of light, the photos are pretty good on this phone, and definitely not something I would expect from a budget phone. But if you switch over to the selfie camera, for you selfie takers, it is a 5 megapixel selfie cam. This camera also does not take 4K video, it takes 1080p video, but that's to be expected for a lower end phone. I wouldn't expect it to take 4K video. This phone also has a removable back. This removable back does not give you access to switch in and out the battery, but it does give you access to a micro SD card for up to 32 gigabytes more of storage and access to the SIM card. Now if you snap this back on properly, it's IPX7 water resistant, which means it can sit in 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. this gives you the extra security knowing that if it gets splashed on with water or if it starts to rain, that your phone will not glitch out because it's got water damage. This phone also has a bottom front-facing speaker. This speaker is better than any rear-facing speaker and any downwards-facing speaker, but it's not as good as stereo speakers on other phones like the Moto X Pure. So the Moto G is probably the best budget phone option in my opinion. The Moto G's biggest competition for the best budget phone right now is probably the OnePlus X. But if you're on Republic Wireless or you're thinking about switching to Republic Wireless, the Moto G is probably the best option on Republic Wireless right now. If you're looking for a phone with battery life, a decent camera, and for basically a full-fledged smartphone, which is what this is in a cheap package. But right now on Republic Wireless for $250, you get the Moto X right now, which has a better display and it's built better and has better specs. Now it does fail in the battery life department. And so about that giveaway, the giveaway will be of this exact phone, and it will have this is a 16 gigabyte phone, and it is from Republic Wireless, and it will be on Republic Wireless. And if you want to see a review of that, it'll be in that corner or in the description below. And also, this giveaway will be running for 2 weeks, and it will be in the US because the Republic Wireless just works in the US right now. And so there'll also be a link down in the description to enter that giveaway. Anyway, this has been MTG23. Happy holidays, and I'll see you on the next one.